There's something very important going on right now uh, that that needs to get nailed down, but it's just a little complicated. The reason why is that reality is complicated, always is. Things that look simple aren't. Uh, a chair sitting by itself in a room may look like a simple thing, but if a biologist and a physicist get into it, you'll get into difficulties and complications to spin the brain. Right now, here's here's something that is important to know that can be taken the wrong way, uh, and that is that our efforts thus far for vaccination and for dealing with the coronavirus have been focused in on stopping the number of people who are dying. And that is absolutely appropriate. I am fully in favor of my governor's efforts to focus in on the elderly, those who are in congregate care communities and nursing homes, to have the vaccine rollout focus on age groups and slowly working down on those age groups and just waiting my turn till they get to people my age. But remember, the focus on that is to reduce the number of deaths and to reduce the number of people in hospitals. Now, here's the trick. A person could make an argument that our attempts to control and contain COVID-19, by the way, this is St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th, 2021, to get a context of where we stand on this. You could decide, instead of saving lives, to save the number of man years or person years, the number of years of life that you possibly can, to maximize the number of years of life, and then also take a look at the number of years of comorbidities and disabilities that people would suffer as a result of going into the hospital and having lingering effects of COVID-19 from a desperate and difficult morbidity. If you did that, then age doesn't matter, because though a person who is 40 has far less chance of having a difficultly morbid experience with COVID-19, the number of years that he would lose if he dies is far greater. And though a person who is 80 has a far greater chance uh, to die as a result of contracting the disease, the number of years lost would be proportionately less. So if instead you're looking at maximizing the number of years of life with through your efforts to contain, control, and vaccinate, then you would vaccinate everybody. It doesn't matter. If we had a vaccine effective for 9-year-olds, that's a bunch of life, even though that 9-year-old's chance of having a bad experience with COVID-19 is very small. The number of years that you are preserving, possibly, is very, very great, statistically speaking. Now, why do I even bring this up? It's because now we have focused in my state on vaccinating those in nursing home congregate care facilities. Started with people over 80, then went down to 75. Now we're down to 50. Wouldn't be surprised if we get a whole lot of people after that. And I do expect for the next few weeks the number of vaccines available and the rollout to greatly accelerate. But here's the point: the people who have not been vaccinated are at just as much risk. In fact, because of the variants, a greater risk now than they were a month ago. Because of, as I say, because of the variants. They are at just as much, if not more, risk now than they were a month ago. But because we all look at the statistics and say, hey, the number of deaths are down, the number of people in hospitals are down, and even the number of people contracting the virus are down, we say, wow, we can have a good time in Florida. We can have a good time in Texas. We can blow off all the restraints and have a delightful time. And because the people at greatest risk for contracting and dying from COVID, the elderly, are vaccinated, you will continue to see less. But the people who do contract the illness, the people who do die with their small percentage likelihood of doing so, are going to lose a much greater amount of life. So that is the situation in which we are currently. We have saved the number of people who are going to die by wise public policy of vaccinating the elderly and those most at risk. But thus far, as I say, having a race between the vaccine and the variants, thus far, we have the people at lower age groups and possibly, I suppose, people who are more at risk, minorities, who do not have the ability to quarantine the way I thankfully had when I was exposed to the virus. These people are at just as much risk, and age, more than anything else, determines their risk. But we are going to lose more man years for every death. And that's a new matrix that is difficult to talk about, but I think is important at this point.